there's got to be a better middle ground where we make this basic realization that kids need a masculine presence, and they're not going to do well developmentally without it. So there needs to be some way to introduce this to them.
Yeah, and I hate to be Freudian about it, but this all goes back to the ego ideal, a key structure of our very developing consciousness, which is the one that scans for heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be denied, because the first heroes that you scan for, that's why the thing was created, is your parents. So the very bond that a child has with its parents couldn't happen without the ego ideal. That's how important it is. And that's the bedrock moment, right? And then from there, you scan the world. Now that you've found a couple of heroes and that orients you, you move from that point on to, whatever comes next, fictional characters, Zorro, Captain Kirk, and what have you, Robin Hood, and all the rest of it. So we need it. But the fact is that by design, the ego ideal is oriented to the male. Because of nothing wrong with it. It's history. Man was the warrior. Man was the strength of the tribe. Man was the fighter of the animals. Man, pitted his strength against another strong man. Women had no role in any of this. Historically, women have never been heroes, except in maybe the odd, very, very odd situation. And so the superego is our internalized hero. And women just don't figure. Now, if women were lovers of nature and truly natural creatures, they'd admit that, because that's the way nature has wanted it. So they're the ones in contradiction. Because if you were really a natural being and you had any respect for the natural order, then you would not violate it by spitting in man's faces over this, or trying to change the structure, of child's consciousness, actually secretly envying the fact that consciousness is oriented toward the masculine and the male, and then trying to subvert it. So that's why we call it a subversion, an ultra-feminization, a gynocracy. We're not misogynists to do that. We have the absolute facts of Mother Nature behind us. That's the strong platform. They don't. They have critical theory, and they've got some other communal baloney, right? And they've got this myth, as we talked about, of the ancient goddess. They've polluted that. And they've got their myth of matriarchy, which has been exposed by numerous thinkers as a total fraud. And that's why we have to do it bit by bit by bit. You have to undermine them, just like they intended to do. You borrow the techniques of the enemy. They attempted to break down, bit by bit, turn it around on them and do the same thing, and let people decide which is the stronger argument. It's all apophatic. It's all very, very needed. But the trouble is that where we're at this point is that not enough women are willing to do that. It's men who are mostly doing it. Think of MGTOW, think of Red Pill. Yeah. Despite the faults in that. Well, yeah, that's largely it. You can count on the fingers of one hand of women who are taking this up. This is a crisis. They don't have the self-reflection. They don't have the introspection. They don't have. It's almost like a weak muscle historically. They don't have what it takes, the self-critique. Yet they call themselves critical thinkers, critical theorists. They sign on for something that they're beyond incompetent at. Yet they're signing on for it. I mean, it's their gig, right? And they're hopeless at it. Maybe maybe that's going to be their downfall.
Could be.
At the thing they espouse the most.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, contradictorily, if they stopped doing that and they did just embrace their own nature, they would have that feeling of inner self-love that they're always, espousing, that they're aiming for, that they have, right? If they just embrace their proper femininity, there is so much greatness about that, and yet they don't want to, and so it creates this sort of schizophrenic complex within them. And I don't see any real self-love in the average woman.
Of course not.
Well, when you're not yourself, you're trying to be something else, or you're trying to compete with the other all the time.
That's it.
That's the difference. You want to come compete, but then you want to rig the game and then make it fake. And then it's not real. Your deep self knows it's not real. And that's where you got all this identity crisis. So it's built on lies, right? In that way. And that's why it's important. And men do this in some ways in their own way as well. But It is unique, especially when we're talking education of children.
Well, the children are the mirror that the women need to get them to where we're talking about right now. If they can't see in what they have produced is the greatest mirror of aberration, then you can take a measurement of that, right? If they remain blind to what is being produced amongst the children of the world, then you take a measurement of that. Pay attention to the fact that they are oblivious, because that is the measure of what you're dealing with. That even with the signs, that they're seeing, the fallout, the disrespect, the malaise, the weight gain, the madness of it all, the woman is still unmoved by that? Can't accept responsibility? Then I ask you, who is infantile? You're getting a new definition of the word infantile that we've never had before. You're getting a definition of the word narcissism and group narcissism that even the coiners of that word didn't even suspect that would happen in the 21st century. It's all being rewritten thanks to women. And you can just wheel it into the court and show it. Just wheel it in. You're building up your case. As long as you have the gumption to be able to mark it and to note it and to collate it, out of your love for humanity. Don't let them off the hook with this. Mm-hmm. They would not do the same thing in their position if the position was reversed. This is a ruthless, right, utterly Stygian, Medusan power that's taken them, the dark side of the anima, which itself is active because of what they've done to their animus. All archetypes are compensatory. One comes to the aid of the other. When they attack males, the stupid cows don't realize that has psychological contrasexuality, according to the law of contrasexuality, which they try to breach. But the law will not be breached. When you attack the male to the degree that you're doing, it is an attack upon the masculine, which is your contrasexual part. Right? So now it becomes an internal problem, to say the least. It's an Armageddon. It's a total apocalyptic condition psychologically. And majority of the women we're talking about, remember, they're psychologists, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
one of their favorite
they're
disciplines.
all psychologists. They're all social workers. Mm-hmm. Are you fucking kidding me? And yet they've thrown Jung out since the 60s and all through the 70s. They tried to contradict him. We'll be doing programs more on that later. They contradicted him. And in doing so, they violated the archetype of the animus, the masculine. And to its rescue comes other archetypes. But of course, the first one in line that will come as a rescuer is the anima, which is the feminine in them. And these archetypes project images. That's all they do. So somehow the haunted female psyche is haunted by images thrown up by the feminine within them. They call themselves feminists, right? It's the female within them. It's the dark mother divine within them that's fucking throwing up the images that they then act on, when they come to hating men. Mm-hmm. So all the feminine narrative is like kindergarten level explained. Kindergarten level. Sophomore psychology. But what do? Tore Jung's picture up and said, we don't acknowledge the man. Mm-hmm. We want somebody else, some other thing, so they just dismissed him. And the Jungians let it happen. The Jungians are the scum of the earth. They didn't fight back. They didn't, they didn't light the torch of their master and keep it going. Jung did. You only have to read. Mm-hmm. Right? And Search for a Soul. We've done series on that, haven't we? What was the other one? The Undiscovered Self. We've shown what he thought of the whole mess of it.
Yeah, and so a lot of Jungians themselves have become very left-wing. I've noticed.
They are.
Yeah.
Believe you me, they are. They're horrific. They're absolutely horrific. They're doing their best to undermine their master. And it's tragic. And a lot of them are women coming out of the super wealthy women in the Zurich, Jungian Institute, blah, 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 right? They've poisoned it. And the men are the most feminized men you could imagine in psychology. Awful creatures, if ever there was any, right? And they've doused the torch. But it's a crisis of the psyche, because these images that haunt their mind, hate men, hate them for this and hate them for that. They don't know the source. They don't question the source of who's sending these images to them. They're dying in the name. The anima is leading them to their grave. They worship the feminine. No, they don't. They violated the feminine. They're being poisoned by the feminine. She's leading them along. So when we want answers, this is where we have to look. And tomorrow, there'll be more aberrations that are so bizarre that nobody on planet Earth who doesn't know this information we're talking about will be able to understand it. I just talked on another podcast about there's a possibility that the ugly women will start attacking beautiful women in the streets. You think I'm joking? It's already happened. What was that name? The girl, that blonde girl, Riley, what was her name?
Riley Gaines. Or was the stabbing on the subway, you mean?
No.
Oh, no, no.
Oh, Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yep.
Vitriol. Look at the vitriol. And who did it come from? Have you seen the types that tried to slander her?
Yeah. The land whales.
Expected.
Yes. Well, listen, that might only be the beginning, because I know the archetypes, so I know what they'll do. And one of the possibilities is this. What I've just described can happen tomorrow. All of a sudden, there'll be a new thing with, milkshakes and paint and hot coffees thrown over beautiful. Well, you're just sitting there. You're 6, a 7, 8, or a 9 or 10. Watch out, baby. You're going to be under attack. And not a single soul on the planet will know why it's happening. The people doing it won't know why they're motivated to do it. The victim will have a fucking clue what's going on, and nor will anybody else. We will be the one to go, oh, well, I know all about this. Because it's the anima within the woman has now become demonic, has now become antagonistic, has now become anti-woman. The archetype of femininity has become demonic. Have anybody realized how civilizations fall? This is what we're talking about. This is how serious it is. And men need to know. But ultimately, men are not the fixers. Women have to step up. That's why it's nothing to do with misogyny at all. It's an encouragement from those who know this stuff, sages, who say, oh, women, here's your mandate. Stop trying to overthrow Donald Trump and become prime minister and president. Stop all this nonsense. Your children are the example in front of you that you people have gone wildly wrong. Let that be your sole focus. Forget politics. Forget changing the world. Forget progressivism. Forget all that. That's been your playpen. I know you've had fun. You've had 30, well, no, it's 40 years. I date this, you see, since the advent of 1980, and I've got reasons for that. Not that feminism wasn't in the world before, but something happened back then. The infection. So you've had a nice 40, 50 year, giggle. And you've had this group narcissism. It's time to burst that bubble, come back down to reality. And your children are crying. Your children are calling out for you. Their souls are screaming out. It's that bad. It's an apocalypse hour. As we said last time, if only we had that goddess tradition. You don't even know the first thing about it. The New Age movement has led you up the garden path with that. See, how can you critique the goddess tradition or know anything about it when a tradition far more deadly, the crone tradition, the hag, the witch? Who's Cruel de Vil? Who's Snow White Santy? Who's the evil grandmother? Who's Hansel and Gretel? Who are the three witches? Who's the old lady at the end of the street that nobody fucking likes? Where did that come from in mythology and history? Does anybody care? What is a witch on a broomstick? Where did that motif come from?
Yeah, they're just
Ancient
stories. Right?
Yes. Mythology will tell you, but nobody gives a fuck about even mythology now.
Yeah.
Right? But they give a fuck about it, the women's movement, when they can try and point some hypothetical matriarchy. Now they'll, fudge facts. Remember you talked about it in your program about this, how spurious things will be connected to make a paradigm. Mm-hmm. And there's no real proof of it at all. It doesn't stand up to study. Well, this is what happened. Just because they found a few, figurines back in the Paleolithic era.
Yeah.
oh, it was a goddess. You have no idea what that represented. You have no idea. None of us can look back to ancient times and really know what happened or what was going on there.
Yeah, people
but
love
the New Age through a fraud. They did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got stuff on my Substack about that through the fraud of it. Mm-hmm. They bankrolled this anthropology, this anthropological lie. No, the truth is that women helped men in the fields, worked with tools, had more testosterone running through their own blood, in the past.
Yeah.
The woman of the past would never have tolerated this shenanigans today. So that's why I say womankind has been violated. That's why it's not a misogynist statement. It's not man accusing woman. It's woman accusing woman. Historical woman, archetypal woman, right? The feminine has turned her face away from the modern woman. Fuck, do you know what that causes? An abscess so deep that only insanity can reign in its place. They become possessed, haunted. And they're taking it out on their children. Poisoning their girls, poisoning their daughters' minds against man, and making soy boys and hipsters, snowflakes out of the boys. And they can't even see it, what they're doing. Blame man, just blame man, blame the patriarchy. They don't even know how the patriarchy came about.
Yeah. And then these very same children, they go on to be the ones who fall into these appeals to authority, not doing any sort of so this all circles back into exactly what we've been talking about. Starts with the psychology of the students themselves.
And because it's bankrupt, you can believe it for X amount of years. By the time you're in your mid-30s, or let's say the Saturn return, it all just fades like putty. Yeah, the same male is going to end up psychotic. That's why he's sitting in his mother's basements. We've done programs on that, right? Playing violent video games, because it hasn't worked for them. It works for a while, but then when it all just melts and there's no substance there, they can't get a date, right? Their body's on fire with sexual, their erogenous zones are on fire. They're armored up the gazoo. They're on drugs. They're on medication. It's not working for them. So then they collapse as human beings. Woman is standing there 100% responsible. 100% responsible. Yet they don't see it. They bred this. And the fact that they're not seeing it, because they're, like I say, the anima creates a smoke screen of exalted female imagery. Goddess worship, New Age shite. Yeah. And so they're blinded by this, these specters, if you want to call them that, or the archetype in its demonic form. It comes as this seductress. It comes as this what the fuck ever, right? And the woman gets hypnotized. That's why it's so widespread. How can so many suddenly be caught up in the hysteria, so vastly over the whole of the planet? Then you're dealing with, as Jung said, these psychic epidemics. And yet these people, by and large, are meant to be psychologists. Yeah, I poked a hole in that. Bullshit. Yeah. Fuck that. And if an institution made you a psychologist, give you a PhD, then fuck that institution. That's don't credit that. Don't tell me that parchment idolatry at this point. Yeah. But I don't see any of this as being that controversial. It's a work that needs to be done. It's hygiene, psychic hygiene.
Yeah, or at least it shouldn't be.
What's that?
Or at least it shouldn't be. A lot of people are going to see it that way, of course.
I just hope that out of it comes certain women who have read the right books, read your Ayn Rand, read your Camille Paglia, right, and others, and read your Alice fucking Miller first and foremost, and snap out of it and start seeking genuine psychic hygiene, clean up the act. I keep repeating, it's not for men to do it. It's not a man problem. It's a woman problem. They've got to clean their own inner house. They've got to call a stop, and what you would call it. They have to puncture these psychic images. They've got to trace it to its source and realize what's going on within their minds. And then they can awaken from the hallucinations that are leading them, in this direction. Man can't get in there and with his spanners and do anything about it. It's something that women have to come back to themselves, come back to their core, and realize they're being had. And this time, light a proper altar to the animus. So all we're talking about is respect. All we're talking about is admiration. It's really not that hard. It's also in the DNA of the woman as well. And once they resurrect that, maybe then there'll be this psychic healing that can take place. But it's for women who they've got to know that they're coming to the edge, the precipice, and they go down. The ones who've orchestrated this don't love them any more than they love mankind. They've been used as doomsday weapons, and they have to step up.
Yes.
And as I say, get out of the focus of politics and trying to compete with men and overly be concerned with what man is doing. They got way fucking too much on their plate. You know, all this hubris.
Yes, they do.
But it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's for sure.